Welcome back to Casuals Corner. You are joined by myself, Will, and today we are in Crossface MMA gym in Watford, joined by the very impressive British prospect, that is a mouthful, Sam Patterson. How you doing, my friend?
I'm very well, my man. How are you?
Good, man. Well, we have actually been chatting for about 20 or 30 minutes off camera, but we'll get into it officially here.
Yes, yeah.
The thing I wanted to ask you, and I ask any sort of British fighter, how did you actually get into the sport? Because, as you'll know, the culture's not as strong in England as it is maybe in other countries. So what was the first introduction?
I grew up, I grew up with four brothers, so in our household it wasn't like kids films and stuff. We were watching kickboxer and fighting films from a young age and trying to beat each other up. And my youngest brother actually wanted to get into MMA from that, and he found a local gym in Watford, went and tried it out. He come home and he was like, Sam, you got to come try this. And we went along, and it never turned back, to be honest. I never turned back from that day.
How old was you at that point?
I was 13 or 14.
Right, okay.
So I was training 3 times a week, doing kids MMA classes, me and my 2 younger brothers. And then when I turned 16, got out of school, I wanted to go to college and do the littlest amount of time at college, because that meant I could do more time in MMA. And then I had my first amateur fight, and then never looked back, really.
Well, we'll come back to that amateur fight in a second, but that was something I want to talk to you about, that area, because you're a local boy, right? It's a local gym. And Watford does have somewhat of a culture of sports people, and you look at combat sport, you think you've got Anthony Joshua, you've got Billy Joe Saunders not far away. What was it like growing up in Watford? Was there quite a strong culture of that? Was there a good sort of community?
To be fair, growing up, I never watched MMA. I watched fighting films, but I never understood. I never watched UFC. I never watched boxing or anything like that. I didn't know who Anthony Joshua was. Billy Joe Saunders did not know who they were. Till they started getting bigger. Really, they didn't really start getting big till probably five years ago or so. Since when I turned pro, I remember Anthony Joshua was like heavyweight champ and stuff like that. So now I understand more, but back when I was a kid and younger, I was just training 3 times a day. I couldn't tell you. I think the first fight I ever watched was Anthony Pettis when he was champion. And
Showtime.
Yeah, that's it. He was like the guy. He was the guy when he jumped off the wall and everything like that. That was like one of the first fights, and I was like, I want to be like that, all flashy and stuff. So before that, there was so much time before that in that era, I just didn't know about. I didn't really follow it or anything. And then when I got older and I started watching it and being able to find the fights and go on YouTube and check out fights, I started falling in love with the actual watching the sport as well as doing the sport and taking it a bit more seriously. But having people local like Anthony Joshua, again, the boxing side of things, I think they put more of a light on. I think MMA is still growing, and I hope to be one of the first, in Watford, to bring the MMA scene big. You know what I mean? The way boxing is in Watford, you've got Anthony Joshua, you've got Billy Joe Saunders, like you said, you've got Shannon Courtney coming through. I want to be the first one to bring MMA on the scene, and everyone go, oh no, MMA is another sport. It's not just boxing, you know? It's
interesting you said that, because you look at the British talent that we have at the moment, and it was something I was thinking the other day. They're very much, although they represent Britain, of course, the UK, you think of people the likes of Paddy Plimmer and Tom Aspinall, they also represent very much Liverpool, Manchester. We've got Nathaniel Wood from London, but yourself from Watford. And you really want to not only stamp a mark on the UK, right, but say, right, Watford, we're on the map.
I'd like to put Watford, Radler, where I'm from, down the road from Watford, same kind of area. But the thing is with the UK scene, they don't really build each other. Like you said, you got these guys from Liverpool, they just do Liverpool, and I think it was because when you're in the UK circuit, you're all fighting each other. If you're on the amateur scene, it was they wouldn't fly in people in for you to fight. You were literally fighting the guys from Liverpool. You were fighting the guys from Manchester. So it was kind of like rivalries, you know. But nowadays, especially at this level, you're all fighting international fighters. You're fighting on UFC. You're fighting on Bellator. You're fighting on Brave. Really, the UK scene should be building each other up. Like you said, at the moment, it's hot right now, and the UFC coming to London next year. So apparently, March time. So if that goes ahead, there's more that I'd love the opportunity to be involved in that. You know what I mean? But the UK scene is so big right now that it can only get bigger, and I think it'll shine a light on mixed martial art.
That was one of my questions. Where do you sort of see? You answered it there. Where do you see UK MMA in 10 years, right? Because like you said, you have a lot of people in a lot of top organisations at the moment, and you can still feel it's not quite where it needs to be. And I think it's more the atmosphere around the sport in the country itself is still just gaining a little bit of speed.
I believe all the UK scene needs to come together and build it. I believe I think soon, like Leon Edwards will be UFC champion, and I think that will bring a big light to the UK scene, having a UFC. I know Michael Bisping was UFC champion, but he was over in America when he done it, and I think Leon being from the UK and training in the UK, and I believe he'll win the UFC belt, that will bring some light. And like you said, the scene at the moment, it used to be 1 or 2 fighters. Now it's like you could do a whole card with you. You could do a whole UK card with you. Yeah, pretty much. It'll be you. If they do it in March, I believe it'll be UK versus the world.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a part of it, but that's what I see it being like. And I think in the next 10 years, I think MMA will be on the level of boxing, if not more.
100%. If we draw it back to when you started, right? So you're 13. You walk into MMA Crossface, they take you under their wing. What are you like as a kid?
It's actually, you wouldn't believe it, I didn't start at Crossface. No. Crossface, so I was at a place called Gintas Combat. It was with Corey Tate on the local scene. He was my coach as a kid, Gintas himself. It was another MMA gym, good fighters in there, on a lower level basis because the game wasn't that big. I think Corey was the highest guy there as a pro fighter. The rest were amateurs. So I spent most of my childhood there.
Right.
And then as I turned, when I was like 16, 17, they were closing down and Crossface was moving here and opened up. So at that time I didn't have a car, I didn't have anything. I was getting the bus around, my mum was giving me a lift and my brothers to training. And I was like, well, I can't, if they're leaving, what do? I can't follow them because I didn't know even wherever they were going, I couldn't get there. And Crossface opened and then I come into Crossface, and I believe since I got to Crossface, I went to another level.
When you got here, because you don't strike me as someone that was getting into a lot of street fights, you needed a place to take out your aggression, and you're going to tell me you weren't now, weren't you? Yeah, that face. That face says it all.
I weren't like a lot of street fights.
My point was you someone that was just quite sporty when you got into, quite athletic, or was you someone that thought, right, okay, maybe I need to a little bit of both even?
When I come to Crossface, I thought I was the man. I had a couple of amateur fights under Gintas Combat, and I thought I was the guy, and I come here and I just got my ass beat down. I'd leave here with black eyes, like Reese in the background, he used to give me black eyes day in, day out, but I never ever turned. I'd come in and I wanted to go again with them. I wanted to go again. I was like a sponge. I honestly soak up. You show me a technique once, I've got it. Like I will start throwing that technique in training and going for it.
You have to be the nail, right?
And that, oh mate, I was a nail for a long time. Like people come in training now and it was different, but I would go home, no joke, black eyes. And it's not because they were killing me, like it was only to make me better, and I kept going back for more. Like I would do a round, get my ass beat, and I'd go again.
You weren't laying on the floor like, no, please.
Yeah, I weren't looking for an easy round. I weren't looking for the next, their first session, can I beat? No, I was going with Dave, I was going with Charlie, I was going with Reese, and they were beating me non-stop. But for a good year, 2 years, but I started to elevate and I started to get better real quick. And then I started competing and never looked back, and I'm still like that today.
This is what I want to ask you about, because I think it was 2013 you had your first amateur.
Yes.
17. You've been training for a few years. Like I said to you earlier, I was on a regional circuit the other day and I was taking photos of one of my friends. I was nervous. You know when they say, oh, it's more nervy watching people?
Yes, 100% it is. Yes,
oh my goodness. I hadn't had that sort of, I was behind the scenes, I was hand wraps and all the rest of it. And I was a bag of nerves. So I wanted to ask you, were you very much on the other side of it when you in your first fight? Was you quite
no, I can't really. It's funny you say 17 because my first fight I was actually 16. And on the interview I had to say I actually had to say no, I won't say the organisation or anything, you're safe, don't worry, but that was the time that we were in. Like I was 16 fighting, and they come to the interview and they were like, oh, can you say you're 18? Like I won't say the organisation, I never know, but it was funny, and I was like, I'm Sam, I'm 18 years old, so I wasn't allowed to fight back then, but I was fighting adults at the time, and being on that, I was nervous back then. I'm still nervous today. If I'm honest, my preparation, if I weren't nervous, I don't think I'd perform to the best I can. I think you need them nerves. It's just about making them fly in formation. That's how I see a quote about that, and I truly believe that. I've been in like 1 or 2 fights where I'm not nervous and they're not been great performances. I think nerves and that fear keep you sharp, keep you alert, and that's I live by that now. So
that's the difference really, is you'll know better than all of us. It's that split second, right? And that sharpness, that's everything.
And That's,
Sorry,
yeah. That's like like you were saying about watching. I'm more nervous watching.
Yeah.
I actually get like that. I can imagine some fighters saying that's what they get like. I never get that belly nerves. Like I'm like, watch, because I can't control it.
Yeah,
it's someone else. It's someone I know. What fighting? I'm a bit like, oh, I believe they're going to win, but it's I can't go in there and make sure they win. You know what I mean? And when I fight, I control it. So I get nervous, but not in the. It's a different kind of nerves watching someone else.
When I have a look at your record, you have a 3-year gap between your first fight, and then you have a 3-year gap, and you go on a 4-fight win streak.
Yeah.
You have a decision in that. You have a guillotine. You have an armbar, head kick, 22 seconds.
Yeah. That's when I found Crossface.
The head kick. That's a perfect
from the finishes. Start getting the submissions.
This is what I wanted to ask.
So my first fight was with Gintas, and then that period of them closing down, me finding Crossface, me getting to the level where Crossface, like they wouldn't just, like, because I had an amateur fight before did not mean you were, because you're representing a team at the end of the day. People sometimes want to fight, but don't realise it's not just your name you're representing. When they call you out and they say fighting out of Team Crossface, you're representing the team now. You're representing Dave. You're representing what he's done. So that little period of 3 years where I was in here every single day getting better. He waited till I was ready to go again, and he saw, I know we'll get you a fight now. You're good enough.
That's really interesting actually you say that, because not only is it interesting to see that's the 3-year gap, and then you see the finishes start flying in, but also the fact that I think sometimes people are just quick to rush. Right, let's get as many amateur fighters, let's chuck in there as soon as possible.
100%, and that little, I wasn't bad. Obviously, my first fight I got the guillotine choke in the first round.
Yeah.
But I thought I
got a guillotine in the first round. Don't worry about that.
I put him to sleep as well. I remember that. Don't worry about that. Nowadays, guillotine's my best move. I catch everyone with it. It must be a thing from the beginning.
So we fast forward a year from your 5th amateur fight, professional fight, your 6th fight, win it pretty convincingly. Then going into your 7th, the big one.
Yeah.
The only loss on your record at the moment. And not only was it your first professional loss, it was your first mixed martial arts loss. Now, this is quite a well-loaded topic, right? We have the knockout itself, we have the weight cut. Yeah. I was going to do some talking around here, but fire it at me. Tell me about the whole thing.
Well, like you said, I went on a 4-fight win streak. It's funny because at amateur, I actually lost one of my amateur fights that never got put on there. And then I went on a 4-fight win streak.
That's not my bad research.
And that's just not on there. They never put it up there. I don't know. And I'm not trying to hide from it. I remember I won my first amateur fight. I won 2 amateur fights, lost one, then went on so I don't know why they didn't put it on, and I'm not trying to hide it from the guy. Give it to him.
I just want to make sure everyone knows it's not my research.
He's on point. He's got this. And then I went on a win streak, and I was on a 4-fight win streak. Had my pro debut. Knocked the guy out. I was on cloud 9. I was like, I thought I was unstoppable, to be honest. I was like, fuck, I'm running through people. Like you said, all my amateur ones were finishes. My pro debut a finish. I was like, I'm unstoppable. Got offered an opportunity on like real short notice. 5 days notice. Had to cut like 12 kilos. But the opportunity was there. Like to fight on Brave at the time, and my second pro fight, to travel the world and fight. I was like, oh, this is an opportunity I can't pass up. The guy that I was fighting was also like on the UK scene, Hardeep Rai. He was fought and fight star, he was champion. So I flew over there, no excuses. If you look at me back then, I had a boy's body. I cut the weight, made the weight. It was horrible. And then I went in the fight with my chin in the air. Like I thought I was invincible. Like it's not that I didn't respect him. I didn't respect the 4-ounce gloves.
The sleeping pills.
They literally, they're not there to protect you. They're to protect my wrist, like my hands. So they are like rocks, and it don't matter who you are. You can land on the chin. You're going to put someone to sleep, and I didn't respect that. I didn't respect the 4-ounce gloves, because I got hit in amateur with those 8 ounces with a bit of padding, and you're kind of you're not bothered by it. It's different, and especially with a bad weight cut and everything. My chin was probably weak anyway on that day, and that was the worst thing that happened to me, is that loss early in my career. At the time, I just come straight back to the gym and got better, and now I'm riding another win streak. And you look at me from then to now, I respect the game, I respect the gloves, and I respect the whole procedure, the weight cut, like we were talking about discipline. And this is
it, because I think we were off camera when we were talking about it. So if we go back to the weight cut, for people that don't know that are watching this, Sam is taller than me, so he's at 6'3".
I've sat down.
And sat down. Yeah, I'm looking short. That's why I've got the 2 stacks here. You're taller than me. You're at 6'3", 155 pounds. Now I know this is all, as soon as I saw them stats, I thought you are bombarded with this question, but I want to cover it because it's not quite how it seems, is it? You making 155. I think people will think you're out there killing yourself.
Like I just don't, but I'm not killing myself. It's just discipline, honestly. Like I think I've got a few advantages right now while I'm young. My metabolism's fast. But also it's my work ethic and how much work I put in, the extras on top of the extras, the miles I put in and everything. Right now, I really don't struggle to make the weight. It ain't easy. And I won't make out that it's easy because it's not, but it's discipline. And I believe that's the difference. I'm disciplined. When it's time to fight and it's time to get my weight down, I am switched on. There's no cheat meals, there's no missing training, I am switched on.
It's like what we were talking about before. It's the fight before the fight, right? You're having those mini battles with yourself. I can't have that, do this, extra couple of miles. And it's almost like you get into fight camp, like we said, your weight's good, you don't have to not drawn out, you're not in the sauna doing 20 miles. You're like, okay, that was probably looking back on that thinking, that was more than worth
100%. And it was, like my first, it's all about just learning and actually doing the knowledge and trial and error kind of thing. Every fight's got, my last, now I've got it down to a T. I believe I'm an elite athlete when it comes down to, but my first couple of fights, like I'd make the weight all right, but I'd rehydrate bad. I would eat shit, I was shoveling in food thinking I need to get it all back in. We had some stories and I'd make myself sick and it was horrible. Then every one I started to learn a bit more and
just
do a bit more knowledge.
A little bit more, right?
And now like you see fighters water loading, doing all this. It's all the procedure, and I'm pretty OCD with that stuff, and I've got it down. My last 3 fights, fight week, I've been within 0.1 of a kg every single day down to the weight cut and back up to where I need to be. I believe my body knows what time it is. And
that right there sort of rubbishes any like drastic weight cuts or anything like that. Because it's what we were talking about again before. It's just those finer nuances of training that sometimes you don't know until you know. So you've made that weight cut for the second time, and it's like, okay, that weren't good, we'll get a little bit better the next time and just keep working at that.
And you've also, it's like I try not to be, I can't think of the word, but I'm trying not to, that worked before, I've got to eat this again. Superstitious, like I'm not trying to, I have to have this exact meal.
Evolving each time,
especially at this level where you're traveling the world, you've got different food in different countries, not everywhere's the same. So if I was that kind of way, superstitious and relying on that, I'll be fucked. I guarantee it, because you go to one country, they don't have rice, they've only got pasta. I can't have that, that's not what I had last time. You can't be like that, you know? You've got to have just discipline throughout.
Flexibility.
And then flexibility with the fight week and the water and everything you do. But again, if I truly believe if I struggle to make lightweight, I'll go up, my body would fill out and I would not be outsized at welterweight or outskilled. I'll just do it naturally. And like I said, I'm not at that point yet. I believe I've got a good career at lightweight, and as I get older and maybe my metabolism slows down, I'll go up to welterweight. No 100%. Problem.
So you have that loss against Hardy Ray, 7-fight unbeaten streak, and it's unbeaten because there's a draw in there. We'll come back to that in a second. I want to talk about your last 4 fights though. Because they are not cherry-picked. They are not cherry-picked. They are winning streaks. They are impressive winning streaks. You look at like Kean Cowley, you've got some world-level striking. You've got some veterans of different organisations. You've got UFC vets, UFC alumni. And then you've got Kamil Magomedov, your most recent fight, the one I want to talk about. You go to Rostov, you're in his backyard, choke him out via guillotine, the submission specialist at 14-1. Now that is something not a lot of people can say, especially now with that sort of rise of that sort of area of the world. So take me through that one.
Like it was like a whole Rocky 3 thing, you know what I mean? Really felt like Rocky 3.
Going into the backyard.
Just going into his backyard, but I love that, and I've always been that way. From my first fight all the way through to now, I've never picked an opponent. I've been offered an opponent and I take the fight. I believe my skill set, and especially right now at this level, I believe I can beat anyone in Brave Combat Federation. I can beat anyone there. So it doesn't matter to me what other people say. It doesn't matter as long as my team believe and I believe. I've only showed this much of what I'm capable of. And when people look at the records and they go, he's 5-1 or 6-1 or 7-1, and this guy's had UFC fights, it don't matter to me. It don't matter to my team. We know what I'm capable of. And the last one, Kamil, and the thing is, people just don't think I respect them.
Of course.
But it's not that. Trust me, if you saw how much I train, I respect everyone I step in there against. And the pressure, being the underdog, it's like I don't know, like people say like chip on your shoulder and stuff like that. For me, I'll go prove that I'm better than these guys. And like I done in my last one, I went and proved that I'm better than them. I didn't think I'd submit him, I'll be honest.
Like, didn't think you'd tap him, or didn't think you'd submit him? He tapped, didn't he?
Yeah, he tapped as well. I did. Yeah. I thought if I did catch him with a submission, he'd go to sleep. But I thought I'd knock him out, or I think he'd get tired and I'd TKO him, because holding me still is very hard to do. And in fact, the submission was there for me to take. I know I've got a good submission game. I think it was the way they were building them up. I don't do a lot of research on my opponents. I truly believe about 90 to 95% of my training is I focus on me and my improvement. And if I can go into any fight and do what I do, I truly believe there ain't a lightweight that can beat me.
Well, this is what I think is interesting with you, because you say that about being prepared. And this is the one thing that stands out, because I think there were some people that saw that guillotine and thought, oh, he's got a guillotine again. But I wasn't surprised in terms of you're very much a mixed martial artist, right? You didn't come in as a boxer with some takedown defense. You didn't come in as a grappler. You came in as a mixed martial artist, right?
And I hold myself accountable to that. I started in it. That's probably one advantage I've got over everyone, or most people. Most people start in like a Muay Thai or a striking background or a grappling background. I started in MMA. Yeah. So all I've learned is how to transition, how to do it all together. And I say this I said this on a post recently, like, I'm not an expert anywhere. I'm not great anywhere. I'm just good everywhere. And that's what I hold myself accountable to, is that I'm not a great striker with a little bit of grappling. I'm not a great grappler with a little bit of striking. I do it all well, very well. And that's what, like, I fought a submission specialist. I submitted him. But it's not, you can be a submission specialist. The fight don't start on the ground, it starts in striking. You can be a striker and get taken down, now you're flat on your back. I'm just good at putting it all together and doing it all.
I think this is what you were saying as well. We were talking about UK MMA before. I think this is the big thing that we're going to see in the next 10 years, is MMA gyms and MMA as a sport.
100%.
You're not getting boxers that are, again, it's like what we said, you're seeing people from the ground up like yourself, straight mixed martial arts now.
Well, now it's built to that level, definitely. Yeah. Like when I started Crossface and when I come, Charlie and that, I was training like a pro at amateur. Yeah. Like I was training like Charlie Leary, my training partner. He's a professional and I was an amateur at the time, and I would train like him because I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be a professional. And nowadays the amateurs are training like professionals, if not more. Like the sponsorship, the light on it is a lot better than what it used to be back then. And like we were saying, about 10 years from now, I'm hoping that light's even brighter. That, like you said, the amateurs now, when they turn pro, it's going to be madness.
Some of the quality of the amateurs, because I've watched a few cards just with friends on it, and I've gone to one myself, and the standard is a very, very good standard of mixed martial arts these days.
And it's because they're mixed martial artists and they train like that. Like Dave was telling me back in the day when he trained 3 times a week. Yeah. 3 times a week. Like, and he was a pro athlete fighting in the UFC. 3 times a week, or he went out to America to get more training in. But he was training 3 times a week. I get pissed off if I'm not training 3 times a day. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. You know what I mean? And that's 3 times a day. And that shows how much the sport has grown from then to now, and hopefully in 10 years, I'm glad that I'm going to be in it. Yeah. I think I'll still be fighting at 35. I'd like to think so. And it's going to be great to see how much it has grown and how much it does grow in 100%. The UK and just in general as a sport. It'll be amazing to see.
One thing I want to pull back on is you spoke about the food was quite different around the world, and it was an interesting point. I left it to later just because I wanted to ask you about this. The one thing that stands out, not just about you, about anyone when I have a look at their records and where they fought, is where they fought, right? Yeah. And you've been very international from your first fight. You've been Belarus, you've been Bahrain, you've been...
Research is on point. Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Flex. That's the only reason I asked that question, mate. It has nothing to do with what you're saying. My point being is, we were talking about the finer nuances to...
Baby, love this. Like, sorry.
Fuck it. No,
brush it off.
My point being was, we were talking about the finer nuances in fighting, right? And you touched upon it perfectly. Little things that people don't realise. You're not travelling first class. You're not in business class. You're not going to the class suites and hotel. You're not being chauffeured. The food's not all made for you. What does that do to you as a fighter, and how does that round out your experience?
That's it. I think I was very fortunate and grateful, to be honest, from early in my career to travel the world and fight. It's been great because I've done it so early on in my career. Now I feel like an expert, and I'm only 10 fights in. Fighters get to the UFC, and I've only been on the local. Like a lot of fighters that go from Cage Warriors to the UFC, let's say. Cage Warriors was only based in the UK. You're so used to fighting at home pretty much. Like you travel up to wherever they had a show, but it's in a car, you drive up there.
London.
But like you said, getting on a plane food, water loading on a plane, other countries having different food and how they cook it and what's available to you is very limited. I've been quite lucky that I have travelled to all these places from such a young age and an early part of my career that I feel like an expert now, and I'm only 10 fights in. So when the UFC come calling and I go to the UFC and I travel the world, it's nothing new to me. I've been doing this for however long. When I was like a novice in the sport, now I'm more disciplined. I do all the extras and everything like that. It's going to be a piece of cake when I travel the world to fight.
Because that's the thing as well. Is it goes back to what we were talking about. It's tiny things that people don't realise that fighters are going through. You're on a plane. Oh, you're just on a plane. Well, not only are you going to be more tired, you hold more water, 100%. And then you're getting there, and you may be weighing in the next day, right? And it's just
time zone difference. All them things do play a factor. Like people travelling from Australia to come to the UK, the time difference, like you said, the water load. If you're water loading, you're on a plane, it holds water. There's a lot of aspects that people don't see or don't take into consideration, and that comes down to discipline as well and experience and really just experience. That's what it comes down to, and I'm grateful that I actually got to do that because
early on.
Like I didn't understand it either when I was fighting. Like my first one abroad, I think, was India. I went to India to fight in Mumbai, and it was
as
great.
far out as you could get,
and
really,
I didn't have
it?
a clue.
Yeah,
I didn't have a clue about, and my weight cut was dreadful. My rehydration was dreadful. I was sick the next day. I think I weighed in at 70. I fought at 71. I was absolutely. But that was all a learning experience, and that needed to happen. I believe the same as my loss in my pro career needed to happen for me to grow. People say I'm on a 7-fight win streak, but I come in here every Monday after the fight as if I lost. As if I lost that fight.
Blank canvas.
Because I don't want to do what I've done before, get all big for my boots and then get knocked out or lose. The reason I keep winning is because I come in here with a loser's mentality to learn, to get better every single fight.
And it's not a loss. I say 7-fight unbeaten because you have a draw now. I know that you'll probably see you'll probably see that as a loss.
Yes,
I thought that you would. Ahmed Amir. Now, your nickname is The Future, if you didn't know. I didn't really shove that in, The Future. So I need a couple of future predictions. Now, Ahmed since you last fought, you had a draw. He's had 3 wins, 1 finish, and you've had 4 fights, 3 finishes.
The guy he's decision one of them, that I dominated Kean Cowley and finished in the lightweight division. I've beat 4 people. The guys I beat are no joke. They're actually championship caliber. Every single one could be a champion, and I beat all of them. I didn't finish one of them. I have not got to prove myself to be #1 contender to anyone though. I've 4-fight win streak since losing to drawing to the current champion. It's the only fight that makes sense.
It's the CV that you can't dismiss,
you
right?
Can't,
you can't dismiss that.
Who's compares? None of them. There isn't one that compares. Now, if I don't get that shot at the title and they give it to someone else, you've got no rankings or system to what you're doing.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? It makes Brave look. Well, if you give it to someone else, well, what am I winning for? What am I doing?
Exactly.
What do I have to do? Or what is the point of me winning these fights in your organisation if I don't get to go? I'm not going up. I'm just keep beating these guys that are UFC caliber. I might as well go fight in the UFC and earn that money. You know what I mean? And fight that caliber.
So you get that in an ideal world. You get that fight, world championship. You win that.
Yep.
What's next?
Well, the only thing that's left for me is I believe I'll happily, like I said, I'll win that world. There's only two things for me now: is that world title, or a release and go to the UFC. That's my ultimate aim. I said it from the beginning when I started here. I said that the UFC is where I'll go. It's a goal of mine. I want to be a UFC fighter. I said I would do it, and I'm very close to doing it. I want to win that world title. It would be a great feather in my cap to be a world champion, bring that world title back to the UK. and then go on to the UFC. If I have to defend the title, I'll defend the title. There's no one in Brave that can beat me.
I mean, we're sitting in, what is it now, December? I'm looking at that March card thinking,
I'd like to get a release.
I'm looking at that March card thinking, that's
you want me opening that card. Everyone wants me opening that card.
That's what I want, really. I think it makes sense. 100%. I think anyone on the British scene, that makes sense. Yeah. We don't have a big representation at lightweight. Yeah. We've got Mark Jacasey.
Yes, which is
he's training in Sweden now though. He's in All Stars, so he's not even out of. Yeah. He's obviously British.
Yeah. But he's been like win loss.
He lost his last fight.
Yeah, I thought he did. Yeah,
pretty convincingly.
But I reckon the UK, he would do all right if he fights in the UK because he's had a couple of wins in the UFC as well.
He's a good fighter. He had a close fight against Fitzeve.
Yeah, you got Paddy Pimblett that's come on the scene. He's a lightweight. There's some good lightweights to be fair on the card. Yeah. Mason Jones, I know he's Welsh.
We've got Paddy.
We've got Paddy, Mason Jones. There's a few lightweights.
He blows up out of camp. I'm thinking he's a light heavyweight. He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. He probably is light heavyweight now.
But forget about it.
We've got a good lightweight scene, and I'd like to be a part of that and build myself up. And like I said, the guys I'm fighting now, they're UFC caliber,
of course,
or better than some of the guys that are in the UFC now. So why shouldn't I be? You know what I mean? If like I said, I'm happy with Brave. I'd like to be a world champion with Brave, but the old aim is the UFC, and with them coming to my hometown, I think it'd be a missed opportunity to progress my career. So I'd love the opportunity.
The last one that I want to finish with, and one of the fights I'm most excited for actually, lightweight division, Brad Riddell, Rafael Fitzeve. I know that you're probably excited for this one.
When I was in Thailand, Rafael was the striking coach.
Really?
So I got to do a couple of his sessions.
Interesting.
Man, his mind for striking and stuff is incredible. And I'm going to sit and watch that fight as a fan. I think it's been underlooked massively. Unless you're a UFC fan or an MMA fan and you truly know what those two guys can do, that fight is a serious fight.
In terms of stylistic striking matchups, there's not a lot better. I
don't see it being one of them ones where you go, oh, it's going to be a great fight, and it turns out to be boring. The guys kind of know each other. They're both. I don't see. I think it can't. It's like Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje. Everyone said that was going to be a fight of the year, and there's no way those two guys step in there and it goes to one of them boring ones. You know what I mean? I think that's one of these fights. I think it might, to a general fan, they might go, well, that was a bit boring. Yeah. But to someone that's really into MMA and mixed martial arts and striking, they're going to see a high level.
The intricacies
those
of the striking,
setups.
right?
And it's when you watch Darren Till, like Robert Whittaker, people go, oh, that was boring.
But
if you're into the sport, that's what you see it as, chess. You see it as chess, and you're actually like, no, that was an amazing fight. Yeah. And I believe that's what this fight will be.
And it finishes, and you're looking at that thinking, that looks knackering.
Yeah. The feints, the setups. Now, if you've actually done MMA or you're into striking and you understand striking or MMA, that was a high level fight. To a general fan that likes seeing two guys go at it and have it, watch the Michael Chandler Justin Gaethje fight.
That's the go-to nowadays, isn't it?
Have it.
That's the go-to nowadays.
We'll go to the pub and just call someone out and have a fight. That's the difference.
Go down Watford High Street.
Yeah, that's it. Watford definitely. You go out there, you have a fight. But MMA, if you're a true mixed martial arts fan and into the sport, watch out for that. That's going to be a great fight. Who have you got
on that one? I want to take your last pick on that one.
I'm going to sit on the fence for that one. I truly am going to sit. I'm going to say. No, I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to be a fan.
Tell me how you see it playing out.
I see it being I think I don't see either finishing. I think it's just going to be who gets off more is going to win by decision. Like who gets more combinations off. I don't see anyone finishing anyone. It'll be a decision. I think Rafael might steal it, but I'm going to sit on the fence and truly be a fan of this fight.
I'm going to go on camera and say I'm going to take Brad Riddell on this one. I think he puts it together. A slightly bit better. I think he's got a slightly better gas tank than Rafael Fitzeve.
Yeah, and that could be the difference. That's what could be the difference. It could be 2 takedowns and go, he wins by those 2 takedowns. That's how close I see this fight being. And maybe you're right. Maybe
I think it's going to be marginal. But I just think the margin Brad Riddell has in that aspect, I think City Kickboxing, man, they do it.
100%. Yeah. Mixing all together.
That's it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm just going to be a fan of that fight, and I look forward to it.
And actually, a potential rival in the future as well.
Hopefully. Who knows, lightweight division, if I can get myself in the UFC and build up them rankings, man, whoever's there, I'm not even, that's definitely there in the future for me. If you want to talk about the future, by the time I fight one of them, I'll be called the present, I'll be right there with them.
Have you been sitting on that one for the whole interview?
Got that one out there.
Plugs. That's good. That's a nice segue actually. You're segueing me into this. Sam, you've been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for joining us. I really look forward to maybe 6 months, 12 months, we'll be catching up again.
100%.
I want to give you a chance to, I know you do one-to-one coaching here, so if anyone's local, do your plugs and your social media where we can find you as well.
Check me out on Sam Patterson 155 on Instagram. If you want PTs or anything, obviously, drop me a message. Massive shout out to all my sponsors. There's so many to mention, but we got Team Crossface, Whiskey Wolf, Into Cryo, Sweet Sweat. I could be here all day.
You'd list them all.
I'll tag, once you post this, I'll tag all my sponsors in it. So massive thank you to everyone. Thank you to yourself for coming down. And more than welcome anytime.
And anyone that does one-to-ones from this, commission-based, right?
Yeah. Same contract. We'll sort something out. Maybe a ticket in my UFC fight.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.